All right. Brett Dashevsky, great to have you on the Comms Futurist podcast. Thanks for being here.
Thank you so much for having me.
I am really excited to talk about your work. You have quite a full portfolio as far as I can tell, and I'm excited to dive into all of it. We first connected when I invited you to speak on the third panel event of the Reimagine series that I
That's
hosted
correct.
for comms leaders over the summer. And on that panel, we talked about the futures of communications. And I specifically made it plural because I wanted to talk about all of the things, right? AI, trust recession, new media, creator economy. And so that's really the perspective that you were able to bring was the new media, the impact of creators and the rise of influencers on PR and marketing and what the creator economy is all about. So I'd love for you to tell the audience a little bit about yourself and your career and what brings you here today.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much for having me on that panel a few months or weeks ago. Can't even keep
Yeah.
track. Yeah, a bit about me. I am what I would consider a social media generalist, which I do believe, of course, encapsulates the creator economy. But I say that because my current professional focus is on two key areas, which is one, I'm the founder of an organization called the Creator Economy NYC. We are the nation's largest creator and marketing community, in real life community, based and rooted in New York City, but with global impact. And so we bring together the creator economy community from the creators that, of course, are building in it, the marketers and brands and tech that is supporting it to really just converse and to connect to help everyone continue to thrive. And our saying is that a rising tide lifts all boats. So we're really focused on uplifting everyone there. And then I am also the founder of a software tool in the social media space, consumer insight space, all under the same umbrella called Siftsy, where we are essentially are an AI native tool that aggregates consumer insights primarily right now from social media comment sections and continue to expand from there. And so it's been very unique to be able to get a range of perspective and viewpoints here in this social media and creator economy space.
Yeah, that's great. And I think SIFSI is super interesting because I imagine that there are really great use cases for that tool for both creators and brands that are hiring creators and influencers to promote their work and their products and services, right? I think that's really interesting.
Yeah, I mean, what's interesting is that Siftsy was actually founded out of Creator Economy NYC. I was hosting one of the first events where I was like interviewing someone, and this individual was a content creator who was blowing up on TikTok, had over 1 million followers. And a simple question that I asked them was just like how they are dealing with judgment that's taking place online and primarily in the comment section. And this creator was saying that their wife basically reads them his comments every single night. And my now co-founder, who I met through my events, is a tech guy, and was noodling with kind of the latest and greatest in AI, and was like, "Huh, imagine if you could basically have, uh, i- someone that could always sift through your comment section for you." And the original intention was that creators could basically view their comments by positive, negative, and neutral, and expand from there. But what we kind of rapidly figured out and realized is that there's a big need for this, within the agency and brand world. And that, our kind of foresight is that, look, comment sections have always been an integral part of the internet, but more and more, like they're becoming like very serious places for consumer feedback, for audience feedback, and should not be overlooked. Like they are legitimate gold mines of real-time feedback, most of all. And so we started to build the tool to serve kind of more enterprises. And, after working on it for a bit now, we have customers like Lyft and Taco Bell and major agencies like McKinney and Wasserman that are using our tool for all types of purposes. So what's unique is that our tool can be used across different teams, like influencer marketing, like consumer research, like social listening, like social media management. And each of those teams are diving into specific comment sections for different reasons. And what our tool allows those users to do, right, is be able to capture the insight that they want to capture, to tell just a more holistic story in terms of, what's going on. And so while a post might say something, right, it's really about, well, how are people responding in in the comment section, and is what they're saying aligned with the post, right? Is there that relevancy there? Is there that consensus amongst the conversations taking place in the comment section? So
Right.
that's just been interesting to build, and it's really special to me because it came out of our community, which also has served for an avenue for us to capture some of our first few customers.
Yeah, that's cool. And how awesome, especially for creators, for the comment section, which I think for a lot of creators is a burden. Like, oh my God, how do I keep up with this? To be being able to synthesize it in the ways that you're talking about, and then use it as real-time feedback and data that can be analyzed and kind of used to help them create better content and to better communicate with the audience. I think it's
Yep.
brilliant.
Now, an interesting point on that part is, from a business standpoint, it's very difficult to sell to creators. And
Yeah.
also being someone in the business, it's like, it's tough to get them to buy a tool. And, some creators want to run away from their comment section. And so I just found like it wasn't worthwhile to go run and try to sell creators on like paying attention to their comments. There's so much insight in there. There's content ideas and product ideas. It's like they don't necessarily always want to be told what to do. Now, what we have actually found is that like we're coming full circle where there are bigger YouTube channels and stuff that are using our tool. Like there's a big channel called Theorist, started as Game Theorist, and they're using our tool. And one of the unique things is that it actually has been assistive for some of the hosts of the shows, the creators of the shows, their mental health. Because usually when they would go and skim the comment section, each comment section is actually uniquely showed to a particular user. And so like
Mhm.
what you might be seeing on like a TikTok, I'm not seeing initially in the comments. And so like they would see some comments and like think that it was reflective of the full, comments. And if they saw something negative, they were pretty bummed about it. But what Siftsy has enabled to surface is that, hey, the comment section was actually majority positive, and this was actually the primary conversation that was taking place. What you saw, only took up literally like 0.2% of the conversation. You just happened to see it. And so it has served as kind of like a a data grounded approach for the team at Theorist to approach their creators and be like, hey, really amazing reception from the audiences and those that engaged.
Oh, yeah. And, a lot of my audience is interested in employee engagement, and what a great selling point for Siftsy that you can keep employees not just engaged, but like feeling better about the work and actually rooted in what the general, public and population and audience is actually thinking and feeling. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Um, I would love going back to the creator economy. I would love to just really get down to basics and for you to describe for the audience. Maybe we can start with what is a creator versus an influencer, and we'll take
Mm.
it from there. Just some basic definitions as we dive into this.
Well, I'm conveniently wearing a hat that says creator.
Yeah.
This is like the age-old debate in the industry. And my perspective is that it's become like kind of moot to an extent. But I think that in the modern time, when we think of the word creator, we ultimately like everyone's kind of being labeled as a creator. That anyone who is creating content online, is seen as a creator, and it's kind of like that base label. Which I think is great because it's almost interchangeable with being an entrepreneur or something. And so I think that it's just like anyone who is creating something of their own, be it in this case through content on the internet. Be it on one of the platforms or as a newsletter or something similar. And then I think, influencer is something that some folks might graduate to. And that is when you really start to develop a strong following or community where you actually can start to drive significant influence. And so I think that like, all influencers are creators, but not all creators are influencers. And I think that the term influencer is hopefully kind of reaching out of its poor connotation phase where when we would think of influencers, the past, 10 years, it was like Kim Kardashian or like Instagram models in Miami.
Mhm.
And while they are still, essentially influencers to an extent, they more and more are probably identifying themselves as like a creators, right? Because it adds, there's like a more of a business sense to that word. And so that's ultimately kind of how I think about it. And I do believe that that distinction matters because it might depend on the goals of a brand if they're going to go partner with a creator versus an influencer because they just come with perhaps different approaches and different weight.
Hmm. Okay, that's that's super helpful, that distinction. And then what about the creator economy? So your organization is Creator Economy NYC. What does that really mean? What does that encompass?
Yeah, I mean, I think the creator economy encapsulates like the next generation of small businesses, the next generation of entrepreneurship. And so, the creator economy is inherently, it was kind of coined, I feel like in like 2020, more or less, even though what we refer to as the creator economy has existed, since the dawn of the internet, dawn of the social internet period. Um, so the creator economy is essentially individuals, right, that are making income uh, through something that they are creating primarily in the internet era, or internet is the primary medium in which this thing is being created.
Hmm.
And so for me, I operate in the creator economy because well, one, I mean, I'm building community and a brand around bringing this next generation of businesses together. But I create content online on LinkedIn and Instagram and stuff like that. And so by way of that, I'm operating within the creator economy. You doing this podcast right now, you are creating something that's primary medium is through the internet. Whether or not it's being monetized, it's still contributing to the creator economy because it is potentially a monetizable platform, a monetizable asset. So that's kind of how I think about it. It's just this next generation of businesses that are being built on the internet through primarily some form of creative expression. And creative expression is, I believe, can range from maybe it's movie and filmmaking, maybe it's education, maybe it's entertainment. I think all those elements fall under that category and the broader creator economy.
Hmm. Yeah. And how do you see now creators benefiting brands from a PR and marketing standpoint? I mean, how
Mhm.
have you seen that shift happening, and what have you seen firsthand in terms of marketing, PR, and comms teams welcoming in the creator and incorporating them into their strategy?
Yeah. Well, what I think that brands are finally coming around to, and it's it's no surprise that it does take time for marketing teams and large organizations to start to invest in these areas, is that the big shift that's happening is just like this element of individuals over institutions, where
Hmm.
people trust people, and so if I'm talking about a brand, a person might be more likely to convert and want to become a customer of the brand when I'm talking about it from a trusted standpoint, as opposed to the brand talking about it and then being served an ad from the brand. And so that's been a really big shift because each of these individual creators or influencers, they have their own communities and they're basically their own, media companies with their own audience and stuff that, are really tuned in and trust what's ultimately being put in front of them. And it has just proven to be a really fruitful avenue for promoting products, and messages, promoting services, whatever it might be. And the industry is coming around to recognizing the ROI that it's having. And when the bigger players start to partake, right, and Unilever starts to say, hey, we're going to be devoting, I don't know what it is, like 90% of our marketing spend to creators, you start to see that even like the smaller businesses start to want to tap into the game as well, because now it's being proven and it's been legitimized. And creators and influencers aren't some just like weird, scammy people on the internet. It's like these are legitimate avenues for promoting products. And brand and PR want to diversify the mediums in which they're getting their messages out. And so instead of going through one singular channel, be it like a television or some internet ads, you can go through multiple different creators, and that message can reach different subsets of people that you're trying to target, but with the message is being refined for that specific audience. And so you're basically like putting the work of refining the message to a particular audience onto the creator, and like that's what you're paying them for. You're paying them to do that, and you're paying them to reach and speak to that particular audience. And so that's why it's important when these brands and comms companies are working with creators, is you need to treat creators as like thought and creative partners. You don't feed them a script and just like tell them to go share and put that out there. If that's the case, then basically just like take that and turn it into like a paid ad. But if you're going through their channels, it's like let them cook, let them do what they know they need to do. And so that's the shift we're seeing. That's why brands and comms and PR are shifting to creators more and more. And also recognizing that you don't need a creator with 1 million followers. You can partner with a creator with 5,000 or less, and get in front of their audience, and then find 50 more that you can also get in front of. It might be a bit more to manage, But frankly, you're probably getting, a better bang for your buck than you would be if you were just going the easy route of putting a ton of money behind a Facebook ad. So it all also depends on the goals of the marketing campaign specifically.
Hmm. Yeah, I think of my own audience, right? I have currently just under 6,000 followers on LinkedIn, right? But 70% of my audience is a PR or comms or marketing decision maker, right? 70% is at the director level or above. So if
Yeah,
I have SaaS products and tools that are really interested in reaching comms and marketing teams, CCOs, CMOs,
that's
it's
correct.
like there's real value in the small but mightiness of my audience, right? And that's just
Yep.
something I didn't really realize I was going to fall into doing this work, but I was like, oh, wow, that's actually really, really valuable.
I mean, look, I feel absolutely similar. I didn't start creating content thinking that it would lead to brand partnerships or for the sake of brand partnerships. They just started to come, and it's validating of the work that you're doing and the audience you've built. But then to also see the engagement or people actually like converting and clicking something shows that, okay, wow, I do have, real influence talking about this particular product or doing so in the way that I'm discussing it. And so, yes, that's very true. And LinkedIn specifically is becoming a really amazing platform for B2B marketing, which, when we think of influencer marketing, creator marketing, primarily you're thinking of someone, promoting a makeup brand. But now it's reaching the other spectrum of a business voice or an influential voice in a particular industry talking about a SaaS product to then sell to a decision maker. And there's a lot of money in that. So for me, I could command upwards of $5,000 to talk about something on LinkedIn for a single post. And
Yep.
that's pretty damn cool. And I'm
Yep.
talking about software here.
Yes.
And so it's just interesting how the industry is evolving, and we're still really in the early innings. But it's exciting that there's this shift here, and there needs to be more and more voices that are serving as folks to amplify it, and also just the infrastructure to serve it.
Yeah, totally. One of the things I do a lot as well is training executives on how to show up on LinkedIn through their personal profiles, right? Because this point you made about the individuals over the institutions and people trusting individuals more, it's like if the executives themselves behind a brand are showing up and vouching for it, right? Instead of just a faceless institutional brand pages, it's so much more valuable. And not only can you reach the different members of the C-suite, their different audiences, but also it just builds credibility for the organization, right?
Absolutely. When I think about for me and the businesses that I'm building, I feel very strongly about me when I am the leader of Creator Economy NYC and Siftsy to be talking about the businesses, talking about the journey, and building empathy. Because if people know me and they see, oh, Siftsy, that's Brett's thing, like there's an added sense of credibility. Maybe they're more likely to take the demo, and maybe they're more likely to end up converting as a customer as opposed to the faceless brand, which can almost come off like robotic. And so as we get into the point of having employees, I want to encourage them to be their own creator, right? The more you are talking about your journey at one of the businesses of mine and showing that you're part of it, it's just going to benefit our bottom line and also just our general reach and perhaps reputation in this space.
Hmm. Yeah, I think another great example is Brian Chesky of Airbnb. I mean, they put out company updates through him, right?
Yes, exactly.
And
Yep. That's a
and
great
you know,
example.
they often maybe repost it from Airbnb, but he
Yes.
is the channel.
And his
And
reach is far more significant.
yes,
And also like I love it when I hear from Brian and like can feel his enthusiasm on like, the summer release. It's like let's go.
yes, totally. Okay, so I know you know Brandon Smithrick. So he was the head of content at Kickstarter, and but also is a creator. And he just recently announced that he's gone full time into being a creator. And what you said about eventually having employees and asking them to be creators for the brand made me think of him because I come across a lot of people on LinkedIn who they're these executives, they have a really strong executive presence, but their LinkedIn presence is just not there, right? And it's because their companies have these strong policies against employees showing up on social media and talking about the company at all, right? And so there really is this shift of like you have someone like Brandon who was doing his own content creation, but also was promoting Kickstarter in some of his content, right? And talking about it. And so I'm just curious how you think about that shift, because I think that's really that really is a quite significant change in how businesses are thinking about employees as creators.
Yeah, I think about this often, and when I talk to creators, right, you think about the folks that are showing up to my events, the folks that are in my community, the folks that I primarily am talking to when I'm writing my newsletter and stuff. I am more or less talking to like the part-time creator, like the creator who is in the swing of their things. Perhaps they're making nice side income, but like it's not their full-time gig. And ultimately they graduate to that, like I did. And also, I used to work at Kickstarter, which
Yeah,
is
I
funny
thought
enough.
so. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Um, and so, I think that for a lot of companies, there is that element of like they want to be careful in terms of what's being said. And when it comes to corporation, there just has been a culture and tradition of if you are not vetted as an official spokesperson of the company, then you are to not talk about the company. And I used to work at Capital One when I first graduated college, and I remember that like you had to basically go through like a program to be vetted and approved to basically speak on elements of the company. And
Sure.
that's understandable, especially when it's a public company, right? You want to minimize as much, you want to control as much as you can. But I think that as culture shifts and norms shift, we're going to see companies feeling a bit more loose about employees sharing themselves online. And I totally can understand that it's going to be a bit of a jarring shift for a lot of like traditional executives, and feeling weird that like, why is like my VP maybe even just like posting lifestyle content? Like, it's weird. And it's like, no, they should be allowed to, like it's freedom of expression, and you just have to perhaps embrace that, right? If they're doing their job well, fantastic. Even if it's not coming back to the fact that they work at the company, no worries there. And with Brandon Smithrick as an example, I think it's great that he was talking about marketing world and being a solopreneur, while also here and there tying in mentions of Kickstarter.
Yep.
His content doesn't need to be about Kickstarter. It could be about hey, leading a social team, and here are some stories about it. And then great. Brandon becomes a figure, and when people realize he works at Kickstarter, it's like, oh shit, he works at Kickstarter. Kickstarter? I haven't heard of Kickstarter in a little bit. So
Yep.
it's like, it's better than him not talking, I guess. Right? There are some other folks that on LinkedIn, like Eileen Kwok, who's she leads social media at Hootsuite, and
Hmm.
she basically is talking to other social media managers, and she might not be sharing like specifics inside of Hootsuite, but she's talking from her own perspective. And then like when she starts to get visibility and people see that she works at Hootsuite, she's almost serving as this de facto advertiser of the brand. And you know what? If she builds enough of her own following and finds a way to turn it into a business, and she goes and does that, then great. Can't be
Yep.
scared of that, right?
Yep.
Reap the benefits while you can, and then you know what? Eileen then turns into your biggest marketing channel for other stuff down the line, and now she should basically turn into an influencer for Hootsuite.
Hmm. It's super interesting too, because comms and PR pros are the ones who typically have historically done that spokesperson training that you were mentioning before, right? And so I'm really interested in how this will impact that role for comms and PR pros, because the traditional spokesperson training is no longer as maybe necessary and ubiquitous as it once was, right? There will always be a place for that in terms of media training and that kind of thing, but I do think we are giving people longer leashes, for lack of a better phrase, right?
Yeah, and I think it also comes down to like, look, is an employee who works at Nvidia gonna start sharing like internal secrets? Like, probably not, but they
Right.
maybe they might share, hey, look, I just recently became a senior manager at Nvidia, and here's some like early learnings, beginning to manage a team of two. They should go and go off and share. Like, I think people want to hear that. But a lot of people on LinkedIn might need to recognize like what type of content should they be posting, what type of content will land. And frankly, that's an intriguing story that I would want to hear from someone at a company like that. Is what has it been like leading a team? But it's just about those people overcoming, climbing Cringe Mountain. They might
Yeah.
feel like it's weird that their fellow colleagues are seeing that they're posting XYZ thing, et cetera, et cetera. And a great example of this is Tim Chiazzano. who is a big creator who blew up by basically sharing like his day in the life. And he was an executive at Charter Communications, which was a publicly traded company.
Mhm.
And I think that a lot of his colleagues were like, what is Tim doing? You know, filming himself in his office and all this stuff and sharing these things. And it's like, Tim never would share anything private, but he was just sharing his life. And his colleagues might have thought it was cringe, but look, now Tim has began to make enough of money and a big enough brand that he was able to leave his full-time job and go and lead into the entrepreneurial life. And so I do think it's about, yes, like loosening that leash, and also those individual employees just going along their creator journey and refining what it is that they're talking about.
Yeah, and having a set of standards that are more updated for modern day in terms of here's what we don't share, here are the don'ts, and then kind of take that and run with it. Could you I talk about Cringe Mountain a lot with the executives that I train. Could you just describe what that is in case people don't know?
Yeah, so Cringe Mountain is this concept that's become popular across the internet, where basically you have to climb Cringe Mountain to get to the land of cool.
Mm.
It's basically like, embarrassment is the cost of entry to climb. And so you sometimes have to go up this long and arduous journey where it likely it's probably all in your head, where you think that you're being cringe with what you're posting. You think people are judging you. You think your family's judging you. You think your colleagues are judging you. You're posting on LinkedIn and your high school, classmates seeing your stuff. And you kind of got to go through this own like mental battle that like, oh, what I'm posting is cringe. It only got 2 likes, and like I put so much effort into it. I'm being seen as a try hard. And
Mhm.
it's like, okay, like, no, like not, you're not in reality, no, but
Right.
you got to keep climbing. And then ultimately when things start to compound, you reach the land of cool, where everyone's like, whoa, dude, you blew up, or like, wow, like you're making X amount from a brand partnership. And it's like, oh, you ended up leaving your job, or now like you're using your following to like grow your business. And it's like, yeah, like
Mhm.
I had to go through that phase where I felt like I was posting into the void for a while. And then ultimately things started to compound. And so climbing Cringe Mountain is like something that all creators have to go through. All entertainers go through it, right? Because like no one all of a sudden like popped into becoming a well-known figure with a strong reputation and a high following. It's like they all started at a point of like, even to think of an actor, they were auditioning for like a small thing and were being cringe about it, or they were posting TikToks to get visibility, and then all of a sudden they become they're in shows, and you're like, whoa, they're so cool. It's like, yeah,
Right.
but 2 years ago I was cringe, right? Because I was small and weird and posting on TikTok, and it's like, yeah, always looking back, you're gonna be like, oh, that was so cringe. But like, you needed to do it. It's again, it's just, it's part of the journey.
Yeah, and I think the people who aren't kind of steeped in this creator culture are I think seeing some of these people and thinking, "Oh my god, they're an overnight success." And it's like, no, they have had to really get
Yeah.
through these psychological hoops in order to get to where they are, right?
It,
With this feeling that they're being judged the whole time. And
exactly.
it's really quite significant when you think about it, kind of what it psychologically does to people in order to be able to get to the side of
Yep.
cool, yeah, as you put it.
Now, what I think is so great about that journey, is that you go through that you go through those long and arduous steps. You go through the steps that when you finally are at the higher steps, you're prepared to be at that step, right?
Yeah.
And I almost think like sometimes going viral can be like like a death sentence, or like it's a double-edged sword, because
Yep.
some people have gone viral and they truly do blow up overnight, which TikTok has made that a reality. And now like they don't know what to do with all this, the following they have, and like their content isn't really set because they just posted a video that went viral, and now like they have this big following, but like it's actually not that engaged of people, and it's like, oh, like whatever.
Mhm.
um and it's no different than I think like building a business. Like you almost want to go through the journey of like gradually growing your revenue and your business and your customers, because by the time you do, are at 1 million in revenue, like all right, I'm supposed to be here. I went through the steps. And
Yeah.
so I think going through the steps is really important. Um, and I'm actually reading a book right now about Barry Diller.
Mhm.
It's Barry Diller's memoir. And he's actually an interesting example of someone who did kind of like uh, skyrocket into a position, like, and is very honest about the fact that it was just handed to him when he
Sure.
became chairman of Paramount. Um, and he's very honest about how like he kind of needed to like it was really difficult because he was an imposter, because he knew that he was underqualified. He wasn't ready for it. He figured it out, of course, but not without, extreme mental barriers and it being, very exhausting and tiresome. But for a lot of CEOs, people that reach CEOs, like there's a reason that you look back and they're like, whoa, they were at the company for 20 years. It's like, yeah, they went through the steps. So now they're ready to take on the reins. I mean, look, no one's actually ever ready, but they feel like, I went through the steps, I'm meant to be here. I can handle it to an extent. And it's the same idea when it comes to climbing Cringe Mountain and following those steps to get to the land of cool.
Yeah. Yeah, I talked to comms executives who do or even entrepreneurs and individual consultants who show up on LinkedIn and they say, the posts that performed the best were not the ones that got me the most leads. Sometimes it's the ones that totally flopped that people end up referring to. And some of those LinkedIn
Exactly.
lurkers being like, oh, I saw this. And yeah.
Exactly.
Um,
That's
yeah.
why you should just keep posting. Like when I
Mhm.
post about Siftsy, sometimes it gets like 12 likes, right? Other stuff, it might get, 150 because I did like an entertaining video.
Sure.
Um, but you keep posting those things and ultimately it's going to hit someone because you essentially are spreading your luck surface area.
Yeah.
High quality shots on goal, something's bound to hit. Just keep going. And again, like I think the law of compounding is vastly overlooked by many people. And it's like if you keep posting, for years on end, like something's bound to hit, and then it does look like an overnight success, but it's like no, this is all just was compounding.
Yeah. I can already hear it now as I think comms professionals listening to this might be thinking, this sounds great to put myself out there, but what if I say something stupid or like looking at the people who have put out something offensive and it goes viral for the wrong reasons, right? And I think comms people think a lot about that because we're constantly looking at how will this message be interpreted and trying to manage brand reputation and all these things, right? And I bring that up because I actually think for that reason, comms people can be some of the best personal ambassadors of a brand because they're able to think about things from so many different angles, right? And they often, for the most part, know better than to post something totally ridiculous and dumb that's going to get them in trouble, speaking generally, right? Um, but I say that because I do think that mindset, while it is a real kind of benefit that these people have, I think it does hold them back and keeps them from putting themselves out there, so it's like operating almost from a place of fear instead of, oh, I'm really prepared to do this well.
Yeah, I mean that's a good question, and good points all around. Again, like I think it's funny because everyone thinks like, oh, if you're gonna post content, like should it be like spicy? Should I be divisive and
Right.
whatever? And like the element is like no, because like you could go that angle. You're just gonna develop like some haters, and yeah, you're gonna be seen as a little like controversial. So it just depends like how you want to approach that. But like I think if you're a comms professional, well, I would be certainly curious to hear how comms professionals might approach crisis and like, hey, look, if I'm in comms in 2025 with like how rapid the internet goes, here's how I think about managing crises, however you
Mhm.
guys pronounce it.
Mhm.
And I think that like an interesting thing that I would want to hear or that I would probably write about is that, the things on the internet are fleeting, right? All of a sudden Crackle Barrel is now done with, right? It's done. It's
Mhm.
like it passed. And it's like, if you're in that comms position, how do you manage things like that when things will pass? Remember Coldplay?
Right.
Oh
Yep.
my God, what happened to that? It
Yep.
had its run and then it went away. So if
Yep.
you're a comms professional, it's like, look, you don't need to be sharing internal stuff. You don't need to be sharing hot takes. Like just share pointers like you're educating, if
Mhm.
that's something you're interested in. Which I think could go a long way. And then as you're growing a following, if it is time for you to maybe do a proper announcement of something related to your company or personally, great, you have an audience there that's engaged. So I think a big thing is a lot of these individuals in the comms profession and professions in general understanding how they should approach what they want to be talking about and how to grow as an expert in that space. And it's actually something I think about a lot because I do realize like, okay, I've gone through this exercise a million times. I could probably teach people how to go through this exercise as well.
Mhm.
And so, I think it could be really useful to do like a LinkedIn course or something. So
Yeah, I
maybe
mean,
that'll come.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I do is, it's working with people to understand, okay, whether it's a team or an individual, like, okay, what are your messaging content pillars? What are the values you hold true? What are three areas in your personal life, hobbies maybe, that you really enjoy? And how can we tie that in? I mean, it really is this reflective exercise that I think is necessary in order to do
Absolutely.
it really well, right? And keep it interesting. Um, okay, I'm curious, as kind of the last part of this conversation, how you fell into content creation, because I don't think we really touched on that, like your personal journey and kind of what that looked like. Like, why did you start posting? Was LinkedIn the channel that you first started on? How did that kind of kick off?
Hmm. Yeah, great question. So, I've always been an outward person. Like I've always, wanted to be a front facing individual. But like, just growing up, it was like I posted some YouTube videos here and there, but like it was never a consistent thing. So I come from the newsletter world in this space. I started a newsletter with my brother that we then sold to another startup that was focused on like basically having a collective of industry experts.
Mm.
And this was around like 2021 when we were acquired, but like we started the newsletter in 2020. So this is when like the creator economy and everything was beefing up. And the main platform that I was on was Twitter. And like Twitter was a really great place to be like building a personal brand. Like people were crushing it, and threads was a really big thing. Not threads the platform, but like people writing threads about like certain topics. And, when I was building this newsletter, I wasn't the one writing it. I was more behind the scenes, like helping market it and operations and branding. And like, I just had an itching that like, you know what, I kind of want to be like building my own audience and building my brand up. And so, when this acquisition came along, it was a no-brainer because I felt that it would accelerate my career, and also it would enable me to start building my personal brand, because a lot of the people that were part of the company currently pre-launch like all had big Twitter followings, and I'm like, wow, this is a great way to be part of this like circle.
Mm.
And so I started posting on Twitter a lot about thought leadership, and about like building a company, which like I had so much imposter syndrome about, because I'm like, I built this like little newsletter that I sold for like a couple $1,000s, like,
Sure.
who am I? And then like I started to talk more about like growing as a creator, just from like my perspective of working with creators, and kind of from there started to like become, oh, like Brett's a voice in this space. And I'll say like my biggest piece of advice to people is like, you talk about a topic long enough with enough confidence, right? Fake it till you make it. You become a trusted voice in this space. So
Yes.
all of a sudden, I become like, oh, like Brett talks about the creator economy. And, I started to define what I would call my personal monopoly, which is like, what is the intersection of things I'm talking about that like I am known for?
Mm.
And I think I defined that as like, I talk about like the people and platforms that are powering the creator economy, something like that.
Hmm.
And while I was at Work Week, which is the company I was at, like I started to get more and more of an itching to like be my own type of creator, because I was working with so many creators, and I'm like, oh, that's so cool. And LinkedIn, I was posting on like periodically, like throughout college, and then like started posting more in the 2020s. And then I remember just like seeing some murmurs on Twitter about people being like, you should be posting, like, you start posting more on LinkedIn. This is like 2021, 2022. So I
Yeah.
started to like post more and more on there. And like, and then like started to understand what it is I'm talking about. And so I started to talk, I think it was still some thought leadership stuff. Oh, I started talking about a lot of news in the creator economy. So I
Mm.
think a really interesting place for people to start is just like simply like serving as like a roundup of news that's taking place in your specific industry,
Curation.
and start
Yes.
curation, but then start sharing your take on top of it. So
Yes.
like, hey, YouTube just launched, just like formed a partnership with Fox Entertainment. Share that news, like, and here are my thoughts on how what this means for creators.
Mhm.
Okay, great. That's a great way to start getting comfortable of like speaking your mind, but like you kind of have the backing of like, I'm just sharing the news.
Mhm.
And then from there, I started to set goals like, okay, I'm going to post consistently like 3 times a week. I think like in 2023, I set this goal and started to just gradually grow a following. And like I have like 11,000 or 10,500 followers on LinkedIn. It's not like huge. And like,
Mhm.
I certainly have not grown fast. Like I have
Mhm.
grown very gradually over the past like 3-4 years.
Mhm.
Um, that was kind of my foray into creating content. And then of course, doing Creator Economy NYC and hosting these events. Once I left Work Week and was kind of like on my own, I started to post more and more about the community I was building and started to like build in public. And I was
Yep.
like, hey, we just hosted my first, 100-person event. Um, and then started a newsletter. So like it all came very gradually. And like my advice to people would be like, don't overthink it. Like you just got to get started. Just like one small, bold action, do that, and then start to maybe try to do it consistently. And then then you can have the luxury of starting to add in other elements. But that was my journey with getting started. It started on Twitter, and then moved over more to LinkedIn. And I started to recognize like LinkedIn was just working better. And obviously Twitter turned into X, and now it's just like a cesspool. And
Right.
I basically just share like free flowing thoughts on there. But LinkedIn has served as like a primary social top of funnel platform for me.
Oh yeah, same, totally. I'm always trying to convert people over to email just so that I'm differentiated because my business relies so heavily on LinkedIn. And I mean, it's changed my life. Posting on there has, I feel that it is kind of the ultimate networking hack, because I'm able to connect with people I never would meet in person, right? And I just think it's extremely powerful, and it's only kind of getting more powerful. So yeah, I think that's great.
Yeah, it's a last point to that is when you put when you put content out there, you start to put yourself out there as well, and you start to get seen, and you start to be able to accumulate your own opportunities that you just never thought would be possible. And I think that it's just like a very nice unexpected return of putting yourself out there. And you reached out to me to come on this podcast because I put stuff out there, and you see
Yeah.
the work that I'm doing, and so it's like how do you expect anyone to know what it is you're working on, if you're not putting yourself out there? So it's like start to get comfortable with speaking freely because it could be a really big superpower for you. And I recognized that early on, which I'm grateful for because I was in this space. And I'm like, man, if I just keep posting and if I write my newsletter once a week, like something good is bound to happen. And a lot of good has happened.
Yeah.
I don't even think we've reached the peak of it yet. So I'm really
Mhm.
excited for what's to come.
Yeah, I'm excited to continue to watch you all grow, and uh, I hope that the next time I'm in New York City, I can align it to one of the Creator Economy NYC events, because I would love to just kind of see what that's all
Would love to
about.
have
And
you.
yeah, I think you're doing some really, really great work in community
Thank you.
building and live events. And I know we talked about in the Reimagine series at that on that panel how important live events are for people and in-person events. And I think you're just doing that really well. So I think it's great.
Thank you. Yeah, and I'm looking to do more also on the Siftsy side, so bringing together more folks on insights and comms teams together. So maybe there's a
Yeah.
way for us to partner down the line on something.
Yeah, absolutely. I would love that. Yeah. Well, it was great to chat with you, Brett, and kind of dive deeper since that panel. And yeah, really, really appreciate your time. And I'm excited you could chat with the audience about what you're working on.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. Great
Yeah.
questions.
Thanks.